Genesis 32. When Jacob was left alone, a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. When the man saw that he did not prevail against him, the man touched the socket of Jacob's hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, "Let me go, for the day breaks." But he said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So the man said to Jacob, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." And the man said, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men, and have prevailed." There are two things happening here. The first is the spiritual physics of what it means to contend with reality itself, to grapple with existence itself. Conventional wisdom says that Jacob, now Israel, is wrestling with an angel. Some would speculate that the man is God himself. Either way, it's a human wrestling with the divine. Something that we all do, even atheists. And so it's not entirely unreasonable to say that for everyone, even atheists, that we are all made to wrestle with God. But the question remains, what happens when we wrestle with God? Well, that answer is kind of hidden, in that the experience of doing so is subjective, but it does bring me to my second point, which is that in the story, when the man puts Jacob's hip out of place, he is making Jacob a different kind of person. The metaphorical lesson being that when we wrestle with God, existence, reality, and truth, we will not be the same person we were. Think of it this way. When you're reading a good book or learning a life lesson, we people have the habit of thinking to ourselves in that very moment that we have reached the apex of our knowledge of ourselves and of the world. And just when we are convinced and settled into the routine of that new paradigm of living, aka the peak of our insight into our own intellectual, social, and emotional life, God takes us by surprise. And that is what it means to wrestle with God. And each time we do so and reach that new insight, we are made into a new and better person. When the man puts Jacob, now Israel's hip out of socket, I imagine it was a way to get him to slow down and seek the profundity of his newfound blessing per se, which is what wisdom does, is it makes us slow down. And in so wrestling with God, he makes us more like himself, the image of Christ, more good, more true, and more beautiful. And of course, that doesn't always look how we want it to. Because now there's a final question, which is, well, why does the man let Jacob win? Well, it's precisely so that we can prevail. It's precisely so that existence itself doesn't crush us, so much so that we have no desire to keep going. And that's why it's a new apex and a new peak of understanding. But it's never going to be the final one, because we in ourselves couldn't comprehend the fullness of truth, goodness, and beauty, because if we could, that would make us God, and we are not. One of the most profound quotes that I heard was that one of the great joys of heaven is knowing that we aren't God. And so we will find more fulfillment and more joy and more wholeness when we let go and realize that when grappling with truth, goodness, or beauty, we don't have the final say, but God does. Till next time, God bless, and get out there and make better happen daily.